The edge of the rooftop cold wind blew across the rooftop. The night was quiet. Stars filled the sky, but down below, the city lights looked small and far away. Raya stood at the edge. She was not human. Her skin was soft silver, her hair long, and white, moved in the wind. Her eyes, large, purple, sad, looked down at the streets far below. Her feet were bare. Her hands shook. She took a deep breath. "This world never wanted me," she whispered, "and my world threw me away." Her people were cold, logical, perfect. No one smiled. No one cried. No one felt. But Raya felt everything. They called her broken. Her brother, a royal prince, had said, "You are weak. Your emotions are a disease." The elders wanted her removed, erased, forgotten. She ran away. Now, she was here. On Earth, among humans. But even here, she didn't belong. People stared. Some were kind, most were not. She lived in silence, hiding. In shadows, working in kitchens, cleaning rooms, sleeping in small dark places. Now she was tired. One more step, and it would all end. She closed her eyes. One foot touched the air, then, "Don't jump." A voice, calm, strong, human. Raya's eyes opened. She turned her head slightly. A man stood on the rooftop, just a few meters behind her. He wore a dark coat. His face had lines like someone who had lived a hard life. His eyes were brown, but soft. Not afraid, not angry. Just ... calm. "Go away," Raya said. "You don't know me." The man took one step closer. "No, but I know that look in your eyes. You think you can stop me." She asked, "No. If someone really wants to jump, no one can stop them," he said. "But sometimes all they need is one person to care." She laughed, bitter. "Too late for that, maybe," he said. "But I'll stand here anyway." Silence. Just the wind again. Raya didn't move, but she didn't jump either. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "'Cause I've been where you are," the man said. "Years ago, during the war, I stood on top of a burning building. I had lost everything. My home, my team, my brother. Wanted to end it. What stopped you, a little girl?" She was crying in the street. Her parents were gone. She looked up at me. I climbed down. I picked her up. She stopped crying. She smiled. Just once. That was enough. He took another step forward. Raya turned to look at him. Her eyes were wet. "You think my life can change because of a smile?" she asked.
"I think
"Life is built on small things," he said. "Smiles, words, moments. You don't know how broken I am." "You don't know how strong you are," he replied. Raya stared at him. Her heart was beating fast. She didn't understand this man. He wasn't afraid of her. He didn't run. He didn't judge. "What's your name?" she asked. "Lian," he said. "And you?" ... Raiya. "Raya," he said gently. "Come down from there. Let's walk, just for one night. No promises. No questions. Just walk with me. Then, if you still want to jump, I won't stop you." She looked down again. The city lights. The long fall. Then, back at Elian. "Why would you do this for me?" "Because no one did it for me." A tear rolled down her cheek. Slowly, she stepped back. Her foot touched the rooftop again. Then the other. She turned around and walked toward him. Elian didn't smile. He just nodded, side by side. They walked toward the rooftop door. But above them, on a nearby building, something blinked a red light. A cloaked drone watched them. Someone had seen Raya. And they weren't happy. A stranger who listened. The rain had started to fall. Not heavy. Just a soft drizzle. Like the sky was whispering secrets to the ground. Raya and Elian walked slowly through the empty streets. Streetlights flickered. Shops were closed. The city slept, but something heavy hung in the air. She didn't speak. He didn't ask questions. They just walked. And for the first time in months, Raya didn't feel like she was running. But she kept glancing at him. Why? Why was this human helping her? She had seen humans fight, lie, steal. But Elian was different. He didn't talk too much. He didn't try to touch her or ask her what planet she was from. He just walked beside her like a shadow that didn't want anything. After a while, Raya broke the silence. You said you stood on a burning building? Elian nodded. Yeah, war zone, 5 years ago. Why were you up there, looking for peace? But all I saw was smoke. He stopped walking. His eyes looked far away. I had nothing left. No family, no future. Just pain. Raya's voice was quiet. So what changed? A voice, he said. Same as yours now. Soft, almost broken. But it asked me a question that made me stop. What question? Do you want to be forgotten? Raya looked confused. What do you mean? I realized, Elian said, if I jumped, I'd just disappear. No story, no name, no one would ever know what I felt. But if I stayed, ... maybe someone, somewhere, would remember me. He smiled, but it was a sad smile. That's why I'm still here. Raya looked down at her hands. My people said I was broken. Too emotional, too soft. I cried as a child, and they sent me away for tests. They said I was dangerous. Because you felt things. Yes, she whispered. On my planet, feeling is a crime. Only logic matters. But I couldn't stop the feelings. Elian took a deep breath. They were wrong. You don't even know me. I don't need to. I know pain. I know the sound of someone who's hurting. They walked again. The rain started to fall harder. Raya pulled the hood of her long coat over her head. They stopped at a small, broken bench under an old tree. Elian sat down. Raya stood, arms crossed. Why are you helping me? He looked up at her. Because someone once helped me. And because, maybe, you're more important than you think. She sat down slowly, far from him, but close enough to hear. I used to believe I could fix my world. That if I showed them kindness, they'd change. And they laughed. They said kindness was weakness. Elian picked up a leaf from the wet ground. He held it up. You see this? She nodded. Soft, weak, but it falls from trees every year, and still the trees grow again. Strength isn't about being hard, it's about surviving. You survived. Raya looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. You speak like someone who's lost too much. I have, he said. But I found something too. You. She blinked. Not like that. He said, holding up a hand. I don't mean love. I mean ... meaning. You stopped me from forgetting why I'm still alive. To help, to listen. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I didn't plan to talk. I just wanted silence before I jumped. And now ... I don't know. Elian stood. Then, come with me. One more place tonight. A quiet one. Okay. No questions, no pressure. Just ... Peace. Raya hesitated, then nodded. They walked again, turning down an alley, then onto a bridge that overlooked the dark river. Neon lights reflected in the water. Raya stepped forward. The sound of the water, the lights, the silence, it was beautiful. Then a buzz. Elian turned quickly. His eyes scanned the rooftops. What is it? Raya asked. A drone, he said. We're being watched. Her face turned pale. From my world, maybe, or worse. Elian reached into his coat and pulled out a small device. He pointed it at the air. The drone blinked and vanished. Military cloaking, he muttered. Not good. Raya grabbed his arm. They found me. Let them come, he said. But they'll kill you. He looked at her calmly. Then I'll die standing beside someone who deserved better. Raya stared at him, stunned. She had never met anyone like him, and for the first time in her life, she didn't want to be alone. The walk of memories, the morning sun had not yet risen, but the sky was changing dark purple, fading into soft orange. It was the quiet hour. The hour between pain and hope. Elian led Raya through the old parts of the city. Streets here were cracked, walls covered in faded paint and broken glass. The air smelled like rust and stories long forgotten. They didn't speak. Raya followed him, her eyes sharp, but her heart uncertain. She had almost died last night. She had almost jumped. But this man, this quiet, strange human, had stopped her with words, not weapons, and now he was showing her places she had never seen. Where are we going? She finally asked. Elian looked back and gave a small smile. To the past, Raya frowned. Yours. He nodded. They turned down a narrow street. On one wall, there was a giant painting. It showed a woman holding a child, standing in front of a fire. Around them, buildings burned and soldiers screamed. But the woman's eyes were calm, brave. Raya stopped. What is this? A memory? Elian said. She was a medic during the invasion, saved hundreds of lives, died saving 2 children. She didn't even know. He pointed to a small line under the painting. Strength is not the absence of pain, 'tis choosing to walk with it. Raya traced the words with her fingers. She was human, yes, but she was more than that. Shh. Was good? They kept walking. Next, they arrived at a small, broken park. Grass grew wild. A swing creaked in the wind. On the bench sat a sculpture, 2 hands holding each other. My brother and I used to come here, Elian said. Before the war, where is he now? Raya asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the sculpture and placed his hand. Over it, sometimes I come here just to remember how life used to be. Before everything went dark, Raya watched him closely. There was something deep in his silence. Not just pain, but purpose. You still carry it, she said softly. He looked at her. The past. No. The light? Elian chuckled. It's a small one, but yeah, ... I try not to let it go out. They left the park and entered a graveyard. It was quiet, cold. Each stone told a story. Some had names, some had only numbers. Elian walked toward a small stone under a tree. He knelt and placed a hand on it. Was this your brother? Raya asked. No, he whispered. This was a boy I failed to save. He died holding my hand. He said he was afraid. I told him it was okay to be afraid. Then, ... he was gone. Raya stood beside him. Her voice shook. I've never been allowed to mourn. On my planet, we don't bury. We forget. We erase memories. That's not healing, Elian said. That's running. Tears filled her eyes. I never got to cry for my sister. She died because she tried to protect me. She showed emotion. They erased her records like she never existed. Elian stood. His voice was firm. Then let's remember her. Right here. He took a rock from the ground and placed it beside the grave. Name? He asked Solara. Raya said. Elian carved the name into the stone with his knife. There, she's not forgotten. Raya fell to her knees and cried. Not just for Solara, but for everything she had lost. Elian said nothing. He just stood. Guard. After some time, she stood again. Eyes red, face calm. You didn't have to do this, she whispered. I did, he said. Because you matter. Just then, a low sound filled the air. A soft hum. Not from the earth, but the sky. Raya looked up. A dark shape moved between the clouds, fast, silent. A drone. Elian pulled her close. We need to move. They found me, Raya said. Then we make a choice, Elian said. Run or stand. What would you do? He looked into her eyes. I'd stand, even if I'm afraid. She clenched her fists. Her voice was calm. Then, I'll stand too. They turned and walked quickly toward an old factory, Elian's safe place, hidden from scanners. As they reached the door, Raya stopped. One more thing, she said. Why are you really helping me? Kian paused. When I lost my brother, I promised I'd save at least one life before I die. I thought I failed, but then I found you. Her voice broke. And what if I can't be saved? Then I'll still try, he said. Because sometimes trying is enough. Yes. Blood and betrayal. The silence inside the old factory was heavy. Like the air knew what was coming. Raya stood near the broken window. Her eyes searched the skies. Her silver fingers gripped the steel frame tight. Elian sat nearby, checking the small scanner in his hand. A red dot blinked slowly on the screen. They're getting closer, he said. Raya didn't move. I thought I had more time. Leanne looked at her. Time doesn't wait for people like us. She turned toward him. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned. They sent my brother. Elian froze. Your brother. She nodded. Prince Kalen. He's leading the team. Not because I'm a danger, but because I'm an embarrassment. Elian stood. That means they won't take you alive. I know. A moment passed between them, quiet, full of meaning. Elian picked up his coat and a small device from the table. We'll run, he said. I've got a tunnel under the floor. Leads into the sewers. No signal can track us down there. Didn't move. She stared at the scanner. I'm done running. Elian stopped. What? I've run all my life. From my people. From who I am. From my sister's death. But not anymore. He saw the fire in her eyes. If I hide again, they'll keep hunting me. I'll always be afraid. I don't want to be afraid anymore. Elian looked at her like she was someone else, someone stronger. But if we stay, he said, we may not survive. Raya gave a small smile. Then we fight. They didn't have long to wait. 30 minutes later, the ground trembled. A black ship hovered silently above the factory. No engines. No lights. Just shadows and death. 6 silver-armored soldiers landed on the roof, fast, precise. One figure walked behind them, tall, sharp eyes. Cold-faced. Calen. He looked nothing like Raya. His hair was dark. His armor was polished. His voice, when he spoke, was ice. Scan for life. Set weapons to null. The defect is to be erased, not remembered. Inside the factory, Elian prepared. Traps. Nothing special, just old-world tricks. Wires, smoke bombs, explosive paint cans. Whatever he had, Raya stood in the center, waiting. Then the roof cracked. They came fast. Flash grenades dropped. Light filled the space. Noise, smoke. Elian rolled, pressed a button, boom. The ceiling shook. 2 soldiers dropped. One screamed. Raya moved like lightning. Not to attack, but to reach her brother. She faced him in the smoke. He didn't flinch. Still wearing human clothes. He said, still pretending you're one of them. I'm not pretending, she replied. They fight for each other they love. That's not weakness. Kalen laughed, empty and cold. You are the last mistake of a dying bloodline. Raya took a step forward. And you're afraid? Afraid that I might be right? That maybe? Feeling isn't a disease. He raised his weapon. This ends now. A shot rang out, not from him, from behind. Kalen stumbled back, shoulder burning. Elian stepped into view, holding an old human pistol. "Let her talk," he said. The prince looked at him, eyes filled with disgust. "You're the human who filled her head with lies." "No," Elian replied. "I'm the one who listened." Kalen rushed forward, striking Elian across the face. Blood hit the floor. Raya screamed, ran toward them only to be grabbed by one of the remaining soldiers. Kalen raised his weapon. "Again, you could have come home. You chose exile. You chose this. Failure of a race." Raya broke free, her hands glowing with a soft light. "No, I chose life." The light burst from her palms, not fire, not energy, but emotion. A psychic wave of pain, love, fear, and truth. It hit Kalen like a storm. He dropped his weapon. He fell to one knee, holding his head, gasping. "What is this?" He cried. "What you never let yourself feel," she said. "What you erased." From me, all around them, the soldiers dropped to the floor. Some cried. One pulled off his helmet, tears rolling down his face. Then silence. Only Kalen remained standing. Shaking, he looked up. "You've become something else." Raya nodded. "Something better." Kalen's face twisted in rage. "I'll return. With more, with fire, you won't be safe." She stepped closer. "Then come. I won't hide. And I won't be alone." Elian stood behind her, bruised but breathing. Kalen backed away, pressed a button on his wrist, and vanished in a beam of dark light. Gone, Raya fell to her knees. Elian rushed to her. "You did it," he said. "No," she whispered. "This is just the start." A heart worth fighting for city was quiet again. Too quiet. Raya sat alone on the rooftop, watching the stars fade behind early morning clouds. Her hands were still glowing softly, pulsing with the strange new power she had unlocked the gift. Her people feared. Below her, Elian worked in silence, setting up new defenses inside the factory. He was tired. His face was bruised. But his hands never stopped moving. He knew what was coming. So did Raya. They had only hours, high above Earth. A warship the size of a mountain waited in orbit. Silent, deadly. Its cannons aimed at the city, and inside it, the council had made its choice. Destroy the girl. Destroy the city. Make her memory dust. By mid-afternoon, the first signs of invasion arrived. Black clouds moved unnaturally fast across the sky. Electronic signs across the city went dark. Phones lost signal. Birds scattered. Dogs howled. And then a voice. Not human, not loud. But it echoed in every mind. "Attention. Surrender the defect. She threatens peace. This is your only warning." Raya stood in the center of the street now, in front of the factory, cloak fluttering in the wind. She looked up at the sky. Then at the people who had gathered around her, confused, afraid, unaware of who she really was. Elian walked up beside her. "They gave a warning. They won't give another," she said. A child peeked from behind a street pole. "You, the alien girl they want." Raya didn't answer right away. Then softly, "Yes. Are you going to destroy us?" "No," she said. "I'm going to protect you." The crowd didn't run. They didn't attack her either. They simply stayed, watching, waiting, and then a sound like thunder ripped through the clouds from above. A ship descended, sleek, black, silent. It landed hard on the street, flattening cars and cracking the road. From its open doors came soldiers, 10 of them, and behind them, Kalen, armored head to toe. His eyes burned with cold hate. "Step away from the humans, Raya," he said. "They are not yours to protect." Elian stepped forward. "They're not yours to destroy." Kalen raised a hand. The soldiers aimed. "You are not part of this, human. Leave now." "No," Elian said. "Because she's not standing alone." Raya put a hand on Elian's shoulder. "It's okay," she whispered. "I have to face him." She walked toward her brother, alone. The soldiers parted. She stood in front of Kalon, face to face. "Look around you," she said. "They're not armed. They're not fighting. And still you call them dangerous." "You are the danger," Kalon snapped. "You've shown our kind that emotions are power. That weakness can win. That must be corrected." "They are not weakness," Raya said. "They are life." She took a deep breath. "Kalon, I don't want to fight you." He raised his weapon. "Then you will die." The first shot was a blur of red light. Raya dodged, rolled, lifted her hand, released her gift. But it was no weapon. It was a pulse of feeling. Grief, memory, love, and pain. It struck the soldiers like a wave. One by one, they dropped their guns. Some fell to their knees. One screamed, "I remember. I had a sister." Kalon stood firm, unmoved. His armor glowed blue. A shield against emotion. Raya gasped. "You shielded your mind." "Hatu," he said. "You can't infect me with your weakness." He rushed her, blade drawn. Elian jumped in from the side, swinging a steel pipe clang. It hit Kellen's armor and bounced off. Elian fell back, coughing. Kalon turned his blade to him. "No," Rhea cried. She ran between them. The blade cut across her shoulder. She screamed but stood tall. She pushed both hands toward Kalon and released everything: her fear, her love for her sister, the pain of being thrown away, the warmth she felt beside Elian, the joy of that child's question, "Are you going to destroy us?" It all flowed from her into Kalon. For a second, just a second, his eyes filled with tears. Then he collapsed. Silence. Even the wind paused. The soldiers stood, confused. One helped another up. No one moved to fight. Then the crowd began to cheer. Slowly, softly, a spark of hope. Raya turned to Elian, bleeding and weak. She dropped beside him. "You're hurt," she whispered. "So are you," he smiled. "You stood with me. Always will." The gift they feared a little. Girl stood on her apartment balcony. She looked up. The sky wasn't blue anymore. It was glowing red above the city. The warship hovered like a giant wound in the sky. Its edges pulsed with energy. Heat shimmered in the air. The clouds had disappeared, burned away by the power charging within the ship's core. Inside that ship, a voice gave the final order. She will not be remembered. Burn the city. Burn the message. Raya fell to her knees, holding her shoulder. Blood dripped down her arm, but her eyes were locked on the sky. She could feel it, the weapon, not just its power, but its purpose. Erasur. They didn't want to kill her. They wanted to erase her name, her story, her existence, just like they did to her sister. Elian stood beside her, barely able to hold himself upright. "They're going to fire," he whispered. "I know," Raya said. "You can't stop a cannon that size." "No," she said, "but I can speak to the hearts behind it." She stood slowly. The crowd around her had grown. Humans, children, old people, shopkeepers, mechanics, teachers. They didn't run. They stayed, not because they had weapons, but because they had seen her cry. They had seen her protect. They believed. Raya looked up at the warship. She closed her eyes, and then she let go. Her body lifted gently off the ground. A soft wind circled her. Her silver skin glowed. Her eyes became pure white, and her hair floated, like she was underwater. But more than that, her feelings began to rise. They moved like waves, not fire, not lasers, Emotion, the gift. It reached out not just to the ship, but beyond. On the warship, alarm screamed. The captain fell to his knees. He saw his mother's face for the first time in decades. He felt the warmth of her hands. Another officer dropped his gun and began to cry. She lost her brother, he whispered. Just like me. The entire crew froze, trapped in memories they had buried long ago. The cannon shut down. The power faded, but something else happened. Something no one expected. Across the galaxy, on other planets, others felt it too. Soldiers far away in bunkers stopped fighting. Prisoners in dark cells wept. A queen looked up from her throne and whispered, "Solera." The gift moved through space like light, like sound, like soul, and it began to change minds. Back on Earth, Raya slowly floated. Back down to the street. Her eyes returned to normal. Her breathing was slow, her power dimmed. But she smiled, because, for the first time, she wasn't afraid. Elian reached her, took her hand, and whispered, "You did it." "No," she said, "we did." But their moment didn't last long. A final beam of red light shot down from the warship. Fast, focused, silent. Elian saw it too late. He turned, shoved Raya out of the way. The beam struck him. The blast knocked her to the ground. People screamed. Smoke filled the air. When Raya opened her eyes, she saw him. Elian lying on the ground, still. "No," she whispered, crawling to him. "No, no, no." She lifted his head. Blood was on his lips. He smiled weakly. "Still standing with you," he whispered, then. He closed his eyes. Raya didn't scream. She didn't cry. She simply held him. Then, slowly, she stood. Her hands burned with light again, but this time, not gentle rage. Not the kind that destroys, but the kind that wakes every sleeping heart. She turned to the warship and sent out one final wave. Not just emotion, truth, memories of Elian. His bravery, his words, his pain, his kindness. She gave it to everyone, friend or enemy. She gave them him above. On the warship, the crew froze. The captain stood up, tears ran down his face. He turned to his officers. "We were wrong." The cannons shut down, the engines powered off, one by one. Every ship across the fleet powered down, back on Earth. The crowd stood in silence. Then a child stepped forward and touched Elian's hand, then another. And another. Raya watched them. "I couldn't save him," she whispered. A voice behind her replied, soft but firm. "No, but you made him matter." Raya turned. It was one of the alien soldiers, no longer armored, no longer cold. "He changed something," the soldier said. "In all of us." The girl who changed the world. They built a statue. Not of steel, not of gold, but of broken stone from the ruined street where he fell. Elian's face, carved with soft eyes and a quiet smile, looked out toward the stars. His hand was stretched forward, not holding a weapon, but reaching, like he always did. Reaching for someone who needed it, and beside that statue stood the girl he had saved. Not as a weapon, not as a traitor, but as something new. A bridge, a voice, a beginning. 1 week had passed since the warship left Earth. They didn't destroy the city. They didn't erase her. Instead, they sent a message. The council is dissolved. The gift will be studied, not feared. We listen now. Across the galaxy, people began to remember. Soldiers removed helmets. Children were taught to feel. Families long erased were spoken of again. It started with her, with Raya. But peace never comes all at once. There were some who still wanted silence. There were planets that banned her image. leaders who called her dangerous, warlords who blamed humans for corrupting the stars. And that's why she stayed. Not as a queen, not as a hero, but as a traveler, a teacher, a living story today. Raya stood in front of a class of children in a new city. They were human, alien, mixed young minds who had never seen war, only change. She held a small device in her hand. It projected a memory. A boy with tired eyes standing beside her on a rooftop. This, she said, was Elian. He didn't save me with power. He saved me with words, with time, with truth. A child raised his hand. Was he your friend? She smiled. He was more than that. Was he a soldier? No, she said. He was a listener. After class, she walked the streets. People nodded. Some whispered her name. Some gave small flowers. Others simply looked at her with quiet respect. But she didn't seek fame. She sought moments. One person, one memory, one chance to stop someone else from jumping. Just like Elian had stopped her. That evening, she climbed a tall building, same height as the one she once stood on, ready to end it all. The wind felt the same. The city lights blinked below. She sat on the edge, legs hanging over the side, and from her bag, she pulled a small metal box. Elian's voice was inside. He had recorded something before the battle. She pressed play. If you're hearing this, you're alive. That means I did something right. Maybe I'm gone. That's okay. I didn't want to live forever. I just wanted my story to reach someone who needed it. You were that someone, Raya. Don't stop walking, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. The world needs your voice, and if you ever forget who you are, just look at the stars. I'll be there. She sat there for a long time, just listening to the quiet. Then, something new happened. She felt a spark, a connection, not just from the people below, but from far, far away. Other planets, other minds, other souls. Her gift was still active, still growing like a signal that would never turn off in another part of the galaxy. A girl who had never cried before suddenly wept while holding her mother on a war-torn moon. Two enemies dropped their weapons at the same time without knowing why, and on a distant world where emotions were still forbidden. A single child whispered to the sky, "Thank you, Raya." Back on Earth, a young woman climbed the same rooftop. Where Raya once stood, she was alone, afraid. But before she could go further, a voice behind her said, "Don't jump." The girl turned. It wasn't a soldier, not a hero, just another person who had once been broken. Raya. The girl cried. Raya sat beside her. Quiet, gentle. "Talk to me," she said. "I'm here." And just like that, the story began again, not with fire, not with fear, but with listening.